And let's go ahead and get started. We're going to get started on our backs today. And so as you come to a comfortable spot on your back, you can have your legs extended out long if you want to, or you can have your knees bent and touching, but take a moment to set hands on your belly, or you can take one hand to your belly, one hand to your heart. Take a couple deep breaths right here to tune into your back body against the ground. You can even add a little bit of shifting and moving through your hips. Maybe a little movement through your head and your neck. Then begin to take the deepest breath you've taken today. Start to fill up belly, ribs, and chest with your inhale. And release back through chest, ribs, belly with your exhale. Full, deep, long inhale, filling up those three parts. Full, deep, long exhale, releasing back through those three parts. As you let your back body expand and contract with your breath, begin to tune into any tensions, any stiffness, any aches or pains. And set an intention to show yourself some great compassion today. That if your eyes are closed, you're welcome to open them if you would like to. Walk your feet wider than your mat. If your legs are outstretched, extended, then bend your knees. And then slowly start to take your knees side to side, doing a gentle version here of your windshield wipers. Starting to get into the hips, the quads, the low back. And as you take your knees side to side, take it slow enough so that you can sense on each side what's going on. Notice if there's something different on one side versus the other. Notice if you feel pretty open today through the hips, low back, and quads. Or if you feel a little bit more restricted, and think of it without any judgment, but more taking in the details. One more on each side. And now come back into center here with your knees bent and pull your right knee in toward your chest. Clasp your hands behind the back side of your thigh. And if that's tricky this morning, sometimes it is if you have a tight low back or tight hips, then you can always take a blanket or a strap around the back side of your thigh. But you're going to begin to pulse. And as you pulse, you can start to work your leg towards straight, but push hamstrings into your hands and move your hands up and down your leg. Each time you pulse, finding a new spot on your leg to press in, giving the fascia of your hamstrings a little bit of feedback. And then bend your right knee into your chest, give it a squeeze and move it just a little bit side to side. And then set your right foot back on the ground. Pick your left knee up in toward your chest and clasp behind the back side of your left thigh. And then again, begin to pulse. And take your time here, starting to work your leg towards straight as your body is ready for. And just remember, if you're a hyperextender, then we're trying not to lock the knee joint. So you extend to a little micro bend. Up and down the back side of your hamstrings a few times, getting as low toward the sitting bone and as high toward the knee as is comfortable. Just a couple more here. And then bend the knee into your chest and add a little bit of side to side movement. And then setting both feet on the ground. You can go ahead and roll over to one side, push yourself up to a hands and knees position. And then as you come into your hands and knees position, I want you to settle right back into a child's pose here to check out those connections of low back, hips, and hamstrings. Take a couple big breaths with your head resting on the ground or on a block, or even stack your fists to put your head on. And take about 3 deep breaths, moving and shifting through your hips. Then inhale, rise up to hands and knees and set yourself up, wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. Rotate elbow pits forward and push. Take a big couple of breaths right here as you tuck your toes under. Start to move through a cat and cow, slowly moving through your spine. And as you inhale and find that movement of your belly down, find shoulder blades engaging. As you exhale, round your spine upward, push a little extra through your hands, expanding your upper back. Inhale, shoulder blades engaging, coming into your cow pose. Exhale, shoulder blades expanding, moving into your cat pose. Take 2 more this way. Full inhale, long, deep exhale. And as you notice that movement, just notice if you have any restriction there or if you feel pretty open. Back into center now, step your right foot forward in between your hands. You're welcome to have blocks here for your hands if you want to bring the floor closer to you. Work your back knee back as far as you need to get a little longer stretch through your back thigh and center off your hips. And now bring hands up to your hips to rise. And then work your hands even further back onto your low back. And now as you push down with your back knee, think of letting your upper thigh lift a little bit so you're not sinking into your hips. And now shoulders up and back, head back. Take 1 more big breath. On your exhale, set your hands down. And then you're going to bring your left hand to a block or the floor on the outside edge of your mat. Right hand comes to your knee. We're going to take a little bit of a twist, but even more so, I want you to think about expanding your upper back and your rib cage. So push with both hands. And as you push with both hands, think low ribs pulling in as you twist, as you turn your belly toward the right side. Take 1 more big breath right here and push again. On your exhale, both hands come down to the front of your mat. Work them to the inside of your front leg. Heel toe your front foot out to the right. For a second, it didn't sound right in my head. So as you heel toe your foot out, notice toes and knee aimed in the same direction. So if you have your toes turned in a different direction than your knee, that can be counter to what's healthy for your knee joint. So work your way down toward forearms as low as your body needs to go. Notice I'm up on blocks here. You can always set your forearms on something or only come down to 1, or maybe stay up high entirely. Take a big breath. Then rising back up to your hands, bring your foot back into center and step back to hands and knees. And from hands and knees, you're setting yourself up, wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. And again, move through a couple rounds of cat and cow and think of gentleness here. You don't necessarily need to go to the deepest place you've ever gone to allow your body to work through some stuck stuff. 2 more deep breaths. And then step left foot forward in between your hands. Again, blocks handy for you if you need them or want them. Work your back knee back as far as you need. Center off with your hips, and then bring your hands up to your hips to rise up. And now again, notice your back knee and push it down, and even more so think of trying to drag it forward, even though it's not going to move because it's well set, okay? So isometric movement there. As you let that action happen, your thigh gets to lift a little bit, and you won't sink quite as deeply into the hip joint, which is a much healthier place for the hips to not be sunken into. So from this place, let's turn our palms and come to gratitude and rotate arms so that your thumbs are moving back. And then use an exhale to help you engage the low ribs and low belly. Inhale, shoulders up and back, head back. Exhale, hands come down to the front of the mat and work your hands to the inside. We're going to take that spinal twist first. So set your right hand down on your block, left hand to your knee. And then instead of thinking again of taking the deepest twist you've ever taken, I want you to think about using your ribs to help you twist. So push down with both hands, take an exhale, draw your low ribs in as you turn. Take a big deep breath here. Keep your low ribs drawing in, expanding into your upper back. Good, exhale, both hands come down to the front of your back. On the inside, heel toe your front foot out to the left. And again, knee and toes in the same direction. Extend your chest. If you're really tight through hips, hamstrings, low back, then sometimes you end up rounding the back and moving the hips back. So if that's what's happening in your body, then you might stay up high or work down toward one elbow, maybe two elbows, and come into a little bit more of a hip stretch here. Full big breath. And now as you push down with your back knee, again, feel a little lift through your back hip. Front big toe mound pushes down, and then wrap your front glute down and under. So your glute medius is in action there to help your knee turn more open to the left side. Take one more big breath. Then rise up to your hands and settle back to hands and knees. And again, one more time, settle into your child's pose to check out the sensations, whatever's showing up for you in your body. Shift and move around a little bit. Then inhaling, rise to hands and knees. And from here, you have your choice. We're going to come forward into a forward fold. So you can do that from your hands and knees, or lift your hips up and back to down dog to step forward. You choose. But finding your way to your forward fold at the front of your mat, feet are in or hip distance apart and parallel. Lift and spread your toes and then root down with your toes. Inhale and lengthen part way. Exhale and fold over your legs. Hands to hips. Lift shoulders up and back first. Hug elbows up and back. Inhale, rise. And as you come up to your mountain pose, again, make sure that your feet are well set. Notice from second toe back to the middle of your ankle, those two lines are parallel. Lift and spread them again, and then root, push down. Inhale, stretch up overhead. Clasp your hands, and you can create steeple fingers here if you want to, or just clasp, whichever feels the best. But then begin to pull up so much that your arms hug against your ears. And now move tops of shoulders broad. You make a little space there for your head and your neck. Lengthen up through the back of your neck. Take an inhale and start to lift up through your chest, up through your low ribs. Pull your low belly in, your low ribs in, supporting your low back. Take one more big breath in this little mini back bend. And then exhale, hands come to your heart. Inhale, circle your arms wide and around. Exhale, fold over your legs. Inhale and lengthen part way. Exhale and fold. Plant your fingertips or use blocks here. Step your right foot back into your lunge. And now inhale, reach up and rise, coming to your lifted lunge. Center with your hips, drawing your left hip crease back in space. And now take a hold of opposite elbows. And from this place, keep your hips centered as you stretch over to the left side. As you stretch to the left side, keep your right shoulder opening. Take an exhale, draw your low belly, low ribs in. Inhale, come back up to center. Reach your arms, and then we're going to turn and plant the back heel, even widen the stance here to come to our warrior two. Expanding and opening through the arms. Hips are turned toward the right side. Deep breath. Open the left knee up to the left side using your glute. Take your gaze over your front fingers. Take one more big deep breath. And now bring your right hand to your hip behind you. And I'll turn sideways so that you can see. Right hand to your hip. Left arm reaches straight up. And so before you stretch back, you're going to pause here and reach further. Lengthen your left side. Keep your left knee opening to the left and then stretch back. Full big breath. Push down with your hand on your hip behind you and lift your ribs. Inhale, rise back to warrior two. And exhale, hands come down to the front of your back. Tuck your back toes. Step back to a downward facing dog pose or hands and knees, whichever is best for your body right now. Take a deep breath. If you're in your down dog and you'd like to, you can inhale, come forward to a plank. Knees on the ground or lifted, your choice. Rotate elbow pits and push. Extend your chest. Exhale, lower all the way to your belly. Inhale, shoulders lift up first. Push down with your legs. Engage your low belly. And on your next inhale, rise up as high as your body is ready for in your cobra. Keeping shoulders lifted and open. Exhale, downward facing dog or hands and knees. And now take as many steps forward as you need to take to come into your forward fold. Take an inhale and lengthen part way. Exhale and fold over your legs. Plant your fingertips, step your left foot back into your lunge, and inhale, reach up and rise. Again, center your hips, drawing right hip crease back in space. Bend your elbows and take a hold of opposites, and then switch, because you just did that same side on the last one. Take a big deep breath here. Keep your hips centered and start to stretch over to the right side. Lifting more up and open through the left shoulder blade plugs in on your back. Inhale, come back up to center, release your arms, turn and plant your back heel and open it up to your warrior two. And again, it's that knee opening action here that is stabilizing for the knee. Use your glute to help you find that. Lift your ribs, lift your heart up high. Take a big deep breath. Left hand to your hip behind you. Right arm reaches straight up. And before you do anything, just lengthen. Reach further through your fingertips. Reach through your ribs. And then stretch back. Take a big deep breath. Push down with your back hand on your hip and lift your ribs more. Full breath. Inhale back to your warrior two. And exhale, hands come down to the front of your mat. Tuck your back toes, step back to hands and knees or downward dog. Big breath. And then if you're not already there, knees down, hips to heels, take a child's pose. And as you settle back, you're welcome to take the bent elbow variation here, walking your elbows straight ahead to give your shoulders a little more stretch. Head releases down, take a full big breath. then gently push yourself up to your knees and then come all the way down onto your sitting bones. And now we're going to take a little bit more of a hip stretch here. And so that leg, left leg, becomes your base. You're welcome to sit up on something here if you need. So you can always put hips up on a blanket. And now our right leg, we're going to turn into a cradle, okay? So as you pick up your right leg, you're going to hold on with your right knee, hold on to your right knee and your right foot. But then notice for yourself if you start to round back through your spine, and if you are, then try to hold your knee a little bit further away from you. Find where that is that you can maybe pull it toward you a little bit and sit tall. Flex your foot. This is stabilizing for your ankle and your knee. And then you're going to rock. And now right hand comes around to the outside of your right foot. And this is something that you could do with a strap or a rolled up blanket if you want. But you're going to now open your leg up so you have your knee bent, moving toward the back, foot forward. Use your left hand beside you to help you prop yourself and sit tall. Flex your right foot and then resist. Push and pull. Pull back with your hand as you push into your hand with your foot. Deep, full breath as you lift your chest. And now sit tall, and you're going to extend your leg as long and straight as your body is ready for. That might be considerably bent, or that might be a little bit more towards straight. Big deep breath as you sit tall, and remember that's more important than getting your legs straight, is all the way down at your sacrum being able to lift. And now bend your knee, and we'll switch sides, creating that base with your right leg. And one of the things I didn't mention on the other side, but if you have any knee stuff going on, then you can always prop that knee up, okay? You can always sit up on a blanket, but then pick your left foot up, flex your foot, you're holding on to knee and foot, lift your chest. So your leg is only as close to you as your spine can be long. And then open and close. Rock a little side to side. Keep the foot flexed. Again, this is knee stability and ankle stability. Good. So now the left hand comes around to the outside of your left foot. And now your knee comes to the side, foot forward. Your right hand becomes your base or your support to help you sit tall. So bring it wherever it's comfortable behind you, and then make that length. Find that tilt to your pelvis so your belly is coming a little bit forward. And then create the push and the pull. Pull back with your hand, push into your hand with your foot. Take a big breath. Long, long spine here. And then begin to extend your leg as far as is right for your body. Again, remember it's the length of your spine that's the most important. So take a full breath. Shoulder blades engage onto your back here. Stay pushing with your right hand to help you sit just a little taller. And then bend your knee. Set both feet on the ground, and then you're going to come all the way onto your back. And from your back, be sure that you have all of your props. And in particular, make sure you can reach whatever you want to put underneath your hips. So we'll get into that psoas stretch here. So that biggest hip flexor in the body. As you lay all the way down, that thing that you put under your hips could be a block, it could be a big or a small pillow, it could be just a rolled up blanket. So pause for a moment, elbows bend right onto the ground by your sides, and then inch your shoulder blades a little bit toward each other. Take a big breath right here. Then push into the floor with your feet and inhale, lift your hips. And as you lift your hips, find whatever prop you're going to use and slip it underneath your hips. Tricky when there's a wall in the way. There we go. Let your hips come to rest down on whatever you're using. And you can adjust however you need to. You can find that tilt to your pelvis if that helps you to feel more comfortable here through your sacrum. And then if it's in your practice, you can walk your legs out long. This is where you might get a little bit deeper stretch into that biggest hip flexor, the psoas. But if it doesn't feel good, then don't stay there. Walk your feet back in, okay? Or even adjust to a different prop. You're welcome if it feels good to stretch your arms overhead. Sometimes that just gives that little extra length through your front body. Deep, full breath. You have about 2 more deep breaths right here. And then gently walk your feet back in, arms back by your sides. Inhale, lift your hips. Take your prop out from underneath and then set your hips all the way down. And then from this place, walk your feet out wider than your mat and take windshield wipers again, only this time, allow as deep as your body can go, so long as that feels okay to your body. So as your knees drop over to the left side, maybe really allow that right hip to lift up considerably. And as your knees drop to the right side, let your left hip lift up considerably. And take 2 more on each side. And as you take this movement, just remember, flexed feet, engaged, will help support your ankle and your knees. And then come back into center. And you're welcome to grab your pillow or bolster for underneath your knees here if you would like for a little bit of support. But start to make your way into your most comfortable resting pose. And as you find your Shavasana, really take the time to shift, move, to find what feels the best to your body. And take a few compassionate breaths as you let yourself settle in. Begin to take a deeper breath. And gently bring movement into fingers and into toes. As you're ready to bend your knees and roll to your side and take a deep breath on your side, letting yourself pause for a moment. And gently press yourself back up to your seat using as little energy as you can. And now connect palms together at heart center. And with your eyes closed, take a moment to tune into that intention of compassion. Choose to continue through your day or your evening, making compassionate choices for yourself. Take one more full deep inhale. Long full exhale. And bow toward your heart. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.